Today we're diving into sentences that society or your mom told you that are making you a prisoner of patriarchy and that are actually making you set yourself back in your self-growth. The first sentence we're diving into is brains matter more than beauty, which first and foremost is a blatant lie, because if beauty didn't matter as much as brains, why are we seeing beauty commercials everywhere? The reason why men and society, and maybe even your mom, has told you growing up that brains matter more than beauty is because society wants to make women choose between either or. They want to make women believe that they cannot be both beautiful and smart. And if they paint beauty as something that is immoral, sinful, and bad, and something that only vain women do, then they can actually get women to be obsessed with being smart. And because they become obsessed with being smart, what do they become obsessed with? Proving it to the people that are telling them brains matter more than beauty, which is men, which is patriarchy. This way, men or patriarchy gets to have you as a little busy worker who's constantly trying to prove, I'm not someone who's obsessed with vain beauty. I am a smart person. Let me show you how smart I am. That makes you do way more work for people that are not willing to do anything in return. Patriarchy is really getting women to hop and jump and dance like clowns by saying, well, brains matter more than beauty, because then women are running up and down doing everything to prove to men how smart they are, which means that they're doing everything for men, so men don't have to do anything. Because the truth is, beauty and brains go together. Some of the smartest women out there are also women that know how to use their beauty as a weapon, as a tool to get what they want and to get people to underestimate them. This is why I always say that one of the best things you can do as a woman is lead with your looks and play a little dumb. Because even patriarchy and men have brainwashed themselves to believe that a woman can either be beautiful or smart. She cannot be both, which means that if you are very beautiful, it will be dangerous sometimes for you to exhibit the fact that you are very smart. It will actually be better for you to lean into being a little ditzy, because then in their head that makes sense, and then they will do more for you. You will have used their own words, brains matter more than beauty, against them. Because when you lean into beauty and you're not afraid of being a little ditzy, playing dumb, you're essentially saying, I am willing to pose as if I'm not a threat, to make my way clearer for myself, and to confuse these men out there. Or confuse patriarchy in general. Remember this, girlies, both women and men are subject to patriarchy. If brains mattered more than beauty, then men wouldn't be so obsessed with getting a beautiful woman and parading her around, because that's actually what they want to do. Beauty and brains exist within the same sphere. And by saying brains matter more than beauty, women are actually withholding themselves from leaning into something that is extremely strengthening to a woman, which is leaning into putting her energy back into herself instead of putting it into being of service to other people, which is exactly why both men and other women call women vain for being into their looks, putting energy into themselves, maybe even being child-free, choosing their own independence and freedom. Wanting to do a little something for yourself is considered being almost demonic. You're considered vain for wanting to take care of yourself and wanting to actually have enough materials to not be burnt out. Because women have been trained to be of servitude, when they suddenly realize the importance of beauty, which is actually what men and patriarchy is secretly leeching onto, and they start leaning into their own energy more, that is when society, patriarchy goes berserk, because they're secretly trying to steal the power of beauty without you recognizing that it's there, which is exactly why beauty is currency. The next phrase that is brainwashing women to be a prisoner of patriarchy is, money is the root of all evil. The same way that beauty is currency, money is currency. That's why it's called a currency. And what is currency? It's a flow of energy. And in modern society, women are demonized for being materialistic, for wanting more, for wanting enough materials to actually just be able to get by. Especially in today's dating arena, women that want to be able to have a meal on the table and feel like, you know what, I don't actually subscribe to 50-50. They are demonized. They're said that they're gold diggers. But at the same time, a man who is willing to get his money up and who's trying to be strategic with the way that he chooses a partner or a career or the way that he dresses to get that career, that man is considered strategic. But whenever a woman is actually aware of how money works and why you need to make money work for you instead of working for money, then suddenly she's a demon. She's immoral. She's self-obsessed. She's not a real woman. She's not soft. And this money is the root of all evil is actually not something that men are generally told as much as women are. Because women actually have a tendency to tell each other that if they're too materialistic, they're not really community focused enough. And obviously, men tell women this as well. Because this makes it so that women stay far away from actually learning the value of money, how to handle money, how to be financially literate. It is a way of brainwashing women into believing that money doesn't matter, which means I shouldn't put my energy into it, which will make you more susceptible to being played. Because if you are raised to fear money, that money is the root of all evil and the only thing we should focus on is love, then you will not dive into money out of sheer fear of being seen as a gold-digging woman, as a woman who's too macho, as a woman who's too masculine, as a woman who is too focused on materials. You want to be seen as someone who's moral. But what is morality if it isn't making sure that you are taken care of? Because if you do not have enough to be taken care of or to take care of yourself, then you do not have the energy, you do not have the time to be able to even think about whether it's right or wrong. You are simply scraping by. And you will become a victim of that if you are simply believing that money is the root of all evil. Because it will make you keep far away from interacting with money in a healthy way. This is also why women spending money on themselves is demonized. Women spending money on themselves is seen as a bad thing, even though men spending money on themselves is not really seen as a bad thing. Women going out and investing money into their beauty is seen as vain, it's seen as bad. Again, because beauty is currency. And beauty is actually something that can make you make more money, and men do not like the fact that women can actually lean into that, which is why beauty matters a lot. AKA back to the whole brains matter more than beauty. If we as women succumb to believe that money is the root of all evil, we are literally playing ourselves royally. Because we're essentially painting ourselves as if we're these moral, great creatures. Oh, I don't care about money because I'm a good person, which is going to set us back because the men don't care about being morally good. And they know women do. Men weaponize women's need to be seen as morally good. And they tell us that money is the root of all evil so that we become more focused on love instead of materials. Materials we need in order to be able to survive, have our mental health in check, and to be able to actually grow and to be able to make our own decisions instead of having to rely on men. This is why men tell us that money is the root of all evil, so that we don't get our money up for ourselves, so that we need to rely on a man, so that we rely on their love because we believe that that's what holds value, and we stay far away from getting our money up because we believe that's something really, really bad and people with money are bad people. We don't want to be seen as the mean witch woman. We don't want to be seen as materialistic, which means we're actually letting go of some freedom we could have had if we sat down and became financially literate. When you're not financially literate, it's easier to manipulate you. The next phrase that is brainwashing women to be a prisoner of patriarchy is your beauty will fade. This one is very much related to the whole brains matter more than beauty, because men like to tell women that their beauty fades so that they can get more access to women that are feeling like they're on the last leash of life and that their value is going to go significantly down the older they get. Because patriarchy understands that the older a woman becomes, the more discernment she's going to have. So if they tell women that their beauty is going to fade and, oh, when you're 35, you're going to be an old hag, then that's going to make these women more accustomed to giving their energy to men because they are afraid what's going to happen to them in 10 years, 20 years. It's actually a tactic that patriarchy utilizes to make women move more irrationally, move out of fear. And saying that beauty fades, and when women believe that beauty is going to fade, is actually something that makes beauty fade faster, believe it or not. Because first and foremost, you're going to be stressed out thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to look ugly in 5 years. I'm not going to be beautiful. No one's going to want me. So your cortisol is going to be rising like crazy. And we all know that cortisol is the killer of beauty. And that is going to make you stressed out. It's going to make you make bad decisions because you're afraid that no one is going to pick you when you get older. So now is the time for you to settle down because no one's going to think that you're gorgeous later. It's a card that men play in women's faces when they're very young because women are afraid of aging. Patriarchy likes to paint it as if women that are older are not women of value. They are women of value. They've actually acquired so much value that they know how much value they have, which means that they cannot be manipulated as easily. Which is why when they tell women, "Oh, your looks are gonna fade, or you're just gonna become an old hag, oh, you're just gonna look like this, and oh, you're not gonna be as beautiful. What are you gonna do when your beauty fades?" Blah blah blah. That's actually a way for us to be discouraged from learning from women that are older than us, because we actually learn to see them as less valuable, which means that we will not value their advice, which means that we're going to be relying on men that want less good for us and more for them as a way for us to get validation. And we all know how that ends. We are literally told to believe that if you do not look like a Victoria's Secret model, that means that your beauty is not worth anything, not understanding that beauty does not mean that you do not have wrinkles. It does not mean that you do not have stretch marks. It does not mean that you have to look like a Victoria's Secret model or someone who's had a lot of plastic surgery or whatever it is you think beauty means. Beauty means putting your energy back into yourself. I always say that. Beauty, pretty privilege means putting your energy back into yourself, standing in your own power and not letting anyone rock you out of that power. When you create a scare campaign that is completely focused on how you within the next 10 years is gonna not be good enough, then you also make women feel like they need to play all of their cards right now. It's kind of like if you go to a casino or whatever and you're trying to play poker and they're telling you need to bet all of your stuff right now. You need to bet it all. The patriarchy is like the casino. The house always wins. And the best thing you can do is not to bet all of your money just because the house is telling you, "Ooh, you should be playing." They want you to do that so they can harvest your energy and use it for their own benefit. They don't care if you get anything in return. They care that you sign up and you go through with the game. They don't care how you feel. They don't care whether it's something that's going to affect you. They care that they get access to your materials. They get access to currency, your beauty. Instead of you actually sitting back and saying, you know what? I'm going to be as beautiful tomorrow. I'm going to be as beautiful in 10 years as I am today, if not more beautiful. Because every day is about learning about myself. And the more I learn, the more beautiful I become. They also tell us that beauty is going to fade so that we actually don't make an effort with ourselves. Which leads me into the next phrase that patriarchy is using to brainwash us to be their prisoner, which is, I like women more natural. Natural women are more beautiful. Men, patriarchy, actually prefer the women that require materials, require stuff, require maintenance. They actually prefer these women. But the only reason they tell women that they don't want that is because they cannot simply afford a woman that takes care of herself to the level that she does or the level that he actually wants. So he tells her, I prefer you more natural, so that he can get access without having to make an effort and having to invest in what your upkeep actually is. And funnily enough, down the road, he gets frustrated with the fact that you do not put an effort into yourself anymore because he fell in love with a version of yourself that he could not afford, but he was trying to get you at a sales discount. He was trying to get you with an afterpay that he was never going to pay for. And no, I'm not saying women can be bought, but sometimes these analogies are here to make it clear that this is how men literally operate. This is how they think. Remember, women literally have been property, and the exchange of a woman into another man's family is literally what marriage was. And in today's society, men want all of the access, all of the beauty, all of the everything that a woman literally offers without offering anything back. They tell women that they want a natural looking woman. They don't want a woman who's high maintenance. They prefer a woman who's not too high maintenance because they cannot yet afford the woman who has the maintenance that they truly want. They tell women that they prefer the natural version of them and that they shouldn't wear that much makeup and you're doing too much, so that they can get a woman to do everything that they want. And they can brainwash them into believing that the only thing they care about is love. But in reality, what they care about is saving all of their energy, saving all of their money, building themselves through the help of another woman because they do not believe in their own masculinity enough to take that work upon themselves, to the point where this woman is literally carrying everything. And then they leave that woman high and dry saying, well, you let go of yourself. You didn't do enough. I'm going to go for this woman, because now they've built all the energy, all the money, whatever up so that they have access to her, which is exactly why I always say that women should not be putting their money into a man. This is why you don't go 50-50. Don't go 50-50. If you can take care of your maintenance yourself, your nails, your hair, everything, and this man wants to go 50-50 and it doesn't want to take care of your beauty, he wants access to your beauty because he knows beauty is currency. He wants to drain that because he hasn't healed his own feminine energy, so he wants to steal yours. And he wants to build his own energy up so that he can actually get access to the woman and pay for the woman he actually wants, because men want the trophy who's telling them that they can't have her. Men want the woman who's telling them, you know what, you're going to have to do this and this and this in order to have access to me. But they use other women as bouncing mats to get there, because they do not have faith in their own growth and masculinity, which is why 50-50, no bueno. The next phrase that is making you a literal prisoner to patriarchy is, well, don't broke men deserve love too? And what about love? The whole what about love is a phrase that is deeply brainwashing towards women. And it's very similar to what I said just before. The men that can only offer love is because they cannot offer anything else. So they use the word love to make women believe that they're getting some beautiful, wonderful price, while in reality, they can't offer anything. Me personally, I do not believe in unconditional love, okay? Love is conditional. You will not be able to love your partner truly if they're not taking care of you in a way that is going to make you feel safe and taken care of. If a man cannot take $500 out of the ATM, that man is not going to be able to provide protection for you. And remember, if a man takes you out for dinner, that guy could literally be ordering Grubhub at home And he would probably be already buying 2 meals anyways. So whatever it is he's spending on you is not actually, ooh, he's spending money on me, look, ooh. Men tell you that they're looking for love because they don't have anything else to offer. And they use this morality card that they use throughout history with women in general to guilt women into giving their energy to men that are not going to reciprocate, because women are more willing to do charity than men are. And these men know that they are charity cases. So they know, first and foremost, that whatever it is you're doing for them, you're doing out of mercy, you're doing out of guilt, which, by the way, in the long run is actually going to make them extremely less attracted to you. And that's when they're going to use the "we fell out of love" card. Well, we were not compatible anymore. You became too mean. Because eventually when you're giving and given and given to a man who's a charity case, you're going to feel drained because you're literally emptying your own cup into his that he can never actually fill himself, because he has not healed himself. And now you're taking from your own cup, pouring into his. And eventually you're going to become mad. You're going to become sour. You're going to become like, why am I not getting any reciprocation? I'm doing everything right. I'm being the good woman. I'm pouring into this man. I'm standing by his side. I'm doing everything for him because we believe in love. We believe in unconditional love. What about a partnership? What about love? This guy's not going to be attracted to you anymore, because you're not the woman that he found when he came into the relationship. You're not the woman who had the feminine energy that he could leech off on when he came into the relationship. And then he has a great excuse for being unfaithful or leaving the relationship or saying, we're not going to work anymore. Because you're so sour, you're so stuck up, you're always so angry. Because he made you that angry, because he was a charity case. He knew he was a charity case. And you know what? It doesn't make him feel very masculine to be a charity case. It makes him feel emasculated, but he wants to steal your energy anyway so he can get to a point where he can leave and feel masculine in another person's company. So when they tell women that they believe in love, do you believe in love after love? Men will sling love into your head so they can get free charity work because they know they don't have what they need in order to actually feel like a man. And you know, when you do charity work, when you're doing volunteer work, you're not getting paid for that. You're not getting reciprocation from that. You know that, right? When you volunteer to be in the thrift store or do like serving food to less fortunate people, you know you're not getting paid for that. You know you're signing up for that. Do you feel angry after you've served some person who cannot literally afford to pay you food out of the goodness of your heart? No. Because you want to do charity and you understand the notion of the fact that you're not getting any reciprocation. The reciprocation you're getting is knowing that you did a good deed. Men are spinning this in women's faces as if us taking care of them is a good deed and that is love. But instead of it being completely honest and transparently charity, they mask it with rose-tinted glasses, aka using love. And when love is involved, the way they talk about it is us. They don't talk about, I need you to do this for me. They talk about us, which is what brainwashes women into believe that they're going to get reciprocation for doing charity work. That's not how charity work works. You understand that a man who is in need of charity work is not going to give anything back to you. He's only saying love so that he feels less bad about taking the work from you without you knowing that you are literally spun around the arena doing charity work for someone that you think you're going to get reciprocation from. This is what leaves women to believe that being moral is the way to do everything. And if they just continue doing charity work for men, that's going to leave them with having more in the long haul. But in reality, it's never going to make you be able to actually focus your energy on yourself. And it's going to make you feel completely burned out. And you know what that's going to do to you? That's going to leave you with a victim complex, because you cannot understand that someone who's as kind and as moral and as good as you is going to be left feeling like this because you did everything right. No, you didn't do right by yourself. You did what the men wanted you to do so that they could get more. This leads me to the next and probably the final thing that I'm going to talk about, which is the term gold digger. Now we're not even only staying by phrases that are going to brainwash you into being a prisoner of patriarchy. We're just talking about the word gold digger, because this is a word that men and patriarchy likes to sling in the face of women. And women like to sling it in the face of women too. For women that actually do understand that love is actually conditional. Love is not unconditional. There needs to be certain things in place in order for you to actually be able to develop love. Because if certain things are not taken care of, how will you ever have the energy, the time, and the respect for someone so that you can actually develop feelings for them and take care of them? The term gold digger is something that men like to use against women that understand the value of material. Because men actually understand the value of materials themselves, but they do not like the fact that women can clock the same. They do not like the fact that women can get to the same conclusion because that means that the game is rigged for them. That means that they cannot play her. As soon as a woman becomes more financially literate, she becomes less of a subscriber to this whole idea of falling into guilt of not doing charity for men, starts understanding that beauty is currency, and if you're actually really smart, you can use beauty to get way more. When a woman starts clocking all of these and she starts getting her materials up, because we are living in a material world and I am a material girl. When she starts being more self-focused, and we're not saying selfish, but you know what? We're actually going to use the word selfish because selfish is a good word, because women are demonized for actually putting more energy into themselves, which is the appropriate amount of energy because they've literally been spending all of their energy on other people without getting reciprocation for many, many years. When women start playing the game for themselves to their own benefit, getting the life that they truly want, then suddenly men will start saying that they're gold diggers because they understand that they cannot give that woman exactly what she wants, which means that this woman is not going to be available to them. They use the word gold digger as a shaming tactic, as a way to keep other women available to them. By saying to other women that do a lot for themselves are gold diggers, other women are going to feel guilty and they're going to stick around. They're going to do a lot for men to show to them that they're not gold diggers. I'm not a gold digger. I don't care about money, which is why men often talk about the whole gold diggers and money is the root of all evil together when it comes to women that are not willing to give them their time. They tell the women, oh, I don't want a gold digger, blah, blah, blah. They don't have any gold to dig, but they actually want the gold digger woman because the gold digger woman is a woman who actually stands by her boundaries. She knows how to get her money up. She knows how to use her beauty as currency. She's very self-aware. And this woman has actually clocked how patriarchy works so she can make it work to her benefit. Because the truth of the matter is, girls and boys and everyone who's watching this, as much as we believe that we can exit the prison of patriarchy, this thing is not something that we have ever been able to exit. Patriarchy is literally something that rules society even today. And it would be incredibly uncritical to believe that something that me, my mom, my grandma, my great-great-grandma, women in generations and generations and generations have literally been living under is something that we can lift from our consciousness. If we've never lived a life in a society without patriarchy, it is literally impossible for us to imagine how life would be without patriarchy. I will really recommend you to go read George Orwell's Animal Farm. If you tell people that they have freedom and they've never experienced freedom, it is going to be very easy to manipulate them into believing that whatever it is you're saying is freedom is actually freedom. Which is why men like to tell women, oh, you're a gold digger. What about equality, equality, equality? But we've never had that. Even when the word equality started being the buzzword of the time, women were still subject to patriarchy. And now that women have clocked that, you know what, we're probably not going to escape patriarchy, but you cannot hate the player, you can hate the game. We're going to have to use patriarchy to our benefit. And women are starting to move in a way that benefits them by getting their money up, getting their looks up, getting everything going for them. This is when men start calling women gold diggers because they cannot fathom that a woman has clocked their games and now they're using the games to their own benefit. And these men are getting frustrated, which is why there are so many men today that are getting very angry about the fact that women are not as submissive as they used to be. They've clocked that we're probably not going to be able to escape this system, but we're going to do everything we can to create the life that we deserve and we desire within the system and within the things that have been set up. And men do not like the fact that we're using their rules, their game against them and to our own benefit, which is why they use phrases like gold digger and all of the other phrases I've been using in this video to shame and guilt women into being more accessible being less critical, being more dependent on male validation, and essentially be less free. Because as I always say, being a mean woman who's not afraid to be called a gold digger is something that will take you as close as you possibly can to being free. So don't let these sentences brainwash you. Get your financial literacy up. Don't be afraid of men that call you a gold digger. And understand that beauty is currency and you deserve to use it to your benefit.